Men together, shoulder to shoulder, young men, old men, and grandfathers. Think about it. Handed down from father to son, from son to grandson, hard-working men on the land. Look at that. Men have stopped their work for a wee minute to get a photograph taken. And what are they doing? They're harsting. They're using scythes to cut down all that stuff, and then it'll be baled up later on. And all the time they'll be having a joke and a laugh and a giggle and a good bit of banter between them. Different days now. Now, it's all done with tractors and computers. Even the ploughing of the fields, they used to have horse and cart, to put the stuff into carts and tow the along with the horses. Nowadays, it's all done again with tractors. Tractors, aye, with big machines, with all these fancy computers in them. It does everything. It ploughs the field, it even cuts the grass, and it even cuts the hay and straw and piles it up in the oven. People's changed, ways changed. Everything seemed to go one way or the other. Not the same feeling, not the same camaraderie. Then there came 2 world wars, that knocked everything on its head. Women had to come in to work the land and work in the factories while the men were away fighting. Then things changed again. We came back to seeing men leaving the country and getting into factories, working in different factories, making these machines. And remember, in the country it was nice and quiet, they could stay off. In the factories it turned out night kind noisy. The only time you had a chance to hear a laugh or a joke was at tea time. And then it was quick cup of tea and away back to work again. And then everything seemed to settle down a wee while and then it changed again. And now when you look back and you see what's going on around you, and you look around and you say, hey, here's a men's shed. What is happening there?
Schroeder from CBS Aberdeenshire. We're talking about men's sheds, which is a reference to West Hill, which is a really exciting project actually.
Really started for me about 4 years ago, and it started with a gentleman who came, funny enough, from New Zealand, and was pretty blown away by it. Didn't really understand the concept that there was a problem, because of course when you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, you're never going to get old. It's never going to happen to you. You're so busy with your life and maybe looking after your family or becoming the managing director of the firm or traveling the world. You're never going to retire. What is that thing? It's that distant thing that never happens because you're so busy doing all the time. GPs have identified that there's some concerns about the men having too much time on their hands, and the effect of having too much time on your hands can lead to depression and other types of things. And so through the NHS findings, through the findings of a development worker working in a community centre and then speaking to my colleagues, we find that in our community centres there are very few men that go to community centres. The majority are women that are going and doing the courses and networking and chatting and having a great time. And the guys are sitting at home, not getting out.
I've been used all my working life working in a large group of men, and I find when I'm at home doing the things, being retired and doing the things I do, it's very lonely, and I'm used to the interaction with other people. So to me, when I drop into the men's shed, I can carry out my hobbies with a group of other men. When I get stuck on something, somebody helps me to sort it out. If I need 4 hands instead of 2, they're there waiting for me. So the men's shed is providing me with a great deal of interaction, but an awful lot of help, and it really is useful to me to get me out of the way, out of the house. When I first became retired, my wife was driven round the bend, because she was used to having the house all on her own, and suddenly I was there doing things, getting in her way, trying to help, but being awkward in doing it. And she found that very difficult. So a men's shed really has helped me enormously.
My wife will say, the paper's there, have a read of that. You read the headlines and you say, oh no, not again. Oh, I've had enough of this. I'm going to relax somewhere. And wait out in the men's shed for an hour or so just to have a cup of coffee, a chat with some of the boys, and maybe do a wee bit of work that I've been doing on their background thing, you know, like maybe a wee bit of painting or doing that. I think what I'll do is I'll take some of the tools down and see if these guys will help me sharpen them, because I don't know how to sharpen these tools. And I know there's a couple of guys down there that can do that. That's what I'll do. That, to me, is what a men's shed is. And then maybe have a chat with some of the guys as well. What's happening politically? What's happening medically? Oh, I know a guy who's just had a triple bypass. I'm supposed to be getting in for one, and I'm a wee bit apprehensive about this. I wonder what would happen. I think I'll have a word with him and see what he says, what it's all about and all the rest of it. But we need to know that there's somebody there who's been through there, they had the experience, and they can turn around and help you that way. That, to me, is what a men's shed's about.
I am a sociology PhD student at the University of Aberdeen, and my thesis topic is men's sheds. What I found, anyway, a lot of the guys in there, they're all sort of hidden teachers. I'm a bookish person. I'm not great with tools or what have you. If I'm doing sort of participant observation here, I have to give it a go, and I find a lot of the chaps here come in, and they're only too happy to offer advice and suggestions to me. Say, hey, you should do this. Hey, I'll show you how to do that. And you know, it's like intergenerational transfer of knowledge. I quite imagine that if other younger chaps or people who didn't know what they were doing come in, certainly there would be the men would see, recognise the limitations, and they'd come in and they'd help these people like they helped me. And you know, it was one of the most nervous things of my life, coming into this place and saying, hey, look, I want to research you, I want to study you. But everyone has made me feel just amazingly welcome, and you know, I'm just I was honoured to be granted access, and it's not just a place, because you see it so often. There's loads of literature about it. It's a place that can tackle loneliness, or can tackle purposelessness, or things like that, or get men out of the house. And I think if you go in with a methodology that says, with an interview or a questionnaire or whatever, yes, you're going to get that sort of answer. You're going to get, of course, the men's shed tackles those issues and all that, but to me, I find it's so much more. I mean, you know, bottom line is, it's a place where men can come and enjoy themselves, and men can be men, you know.
I'm Brian, I'm 40, I'm using the men's shed here to make a longbow. I had made an English style longbow previously, but it cracked, so I'm making a slightly different design this time. I'm going to be laminating a bow this time using very thin lats of wood from the wood which I cut on the men's shed bandsaw, and I will then use the men's shed thicknesser to reduce the dimensions further to the thickness that I want, and then I'll laminate them together to make something like this. There'll be two of these eventually joined in the centre by a handle, and it will be a bolt-on thing. And I'm using the men's shed to do this because, well, essentially my wife got fed up with large lumps of wood under the bed and wood shavings all over the house, and the West Hill men's shed came up as a project, and my wife immediately shooed me out of the door and said, take your wood there. So here I am, that's what I'm doing, and I'm also not only getting the benefit of the tools and the facilities here, but also I'm getting the benefit of the knowledge of some of the guys that come here who know actually far more about woodwork and tools and stuff than I do, so I'm getting a double benefit there.
The wonderful Marty couldn't show up today, so I'm his older brother, the ordinary Marty. One of the most common questions I get when I talk about the men's shed to various groups is the question, what is a men's shed? You know, I know about the shed in my garden, that's my shed, but what is a men's shed? Sometimes it's easy to say what it's not. It's not a club or a fraternal organization like the Lions or the Rotary, with fixed membership and joining up, etc. It's open to anyone. Anybody can walk in off the street, you're in. Okay, it's not a day center. I'm a volunteer at the local day center, so I'm familiar with day centers. Regular attendance, assessment. Anyone can come into our shed, you don't have to be assessed or anything like that. It's open. It's not a resource center staffed by professionals to address particular problems. We're all amateurs, we're all volunteers. Nobody there knows any more about what they're doing than the rest of us. So we just manage to get along. The best explanation that we come up with is something like it's a place, it's a space, it's a community.
And they're having a support network of men that they probably would never have met in that community. And it is just so joyful, to be honest, just to sit there and watch these friendships grow, watch their support, watch them helping community, watch them getting their zest back. Just absolutely wonderful. And Westall is no different to any other community. And we're no different to any other community in Australia with 1,000 sheds, or Ireland, which now has 135 sheds, and England, which actually now has 56 sheds, and Scotland, which has 1 shed. Now, as in this model, and the model really is from the Australian thing that I'm presenting here, is that you have a workshop space, you have a social area, and hopefully a kitchen space as well, and a storage area for all your wood and your timber and everything like that. So what happens in there is, the big hook for a lot of the men is, like these guys over here, they have their workbenches, they do all sorts of things. But we found some men who were like, well, we had a gentleman of 85 come in and said, oh no, this isn't for me. I'm not into working on tools or anything. I have no interest in that. And before you walked, oh, come back. What are you interested in? Well, I like playing bridge. So, well, wouldn't you like to have a bridge club? Can I? Of course you can. This is your shed. Some men, as I said, never go into the workshop space. They've got model railway making, they play pool, they play darts, they play cards. They do soft furnishings, they reupholster antiques. They give them back to charity shops to keep selling. At the Magpie shop in Bankery, we recycle wood that's going into landfill, and we get the wood from them. So we're using our timber, recycling timber and making projects like that. We've made community benches, friendship bench for the local primary school which came by the Lions, a walking bench for a group that walked their dogs, and this gentleman passed away. In the memory of him, with the wood we make a bench. So a lot of good community projects are coming out of the shed. Wednesday night, we're only open 3 nights a week. We don't have enough supervisors at the moment. It's all voluntary. So no one's paid in the shed. No one's the boss. It is a charity. You have to create a charity to create the shed. That's the financial muscle that sits behind it, and get your funding streams. So you do need men as well who are willing to be in the steering committee, be on the charity, be the chairman, be the treasurer. Our fundraiser, he's our local person, and he gets fantastic.
Basically, my priorities for the shed is basically doing the fundraising for the shed. As such, I'm not a person that's into DIY or engineering or whatever. That side doesn't interest me. It's basically doing the fundraising so that there's money in the shed to keep it up and running, and for small bits of equipment the shed needs.
What kind of funding ideas have you come up with for your shed?
Of a signed Chelsea shirt that Chelsea very kindly donated to us, which raised £1,000. We're doing the same one with a Scotland signed shirt. We've got a signed Alec Ferguson book that he very kindly sent to me.
You lie in your cozy bed, there's somewhere you can go, somewhere you can go, there's somewhere you can Yeah, 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 don't you lie in your cozy bed. There's somewhere you can go, down to the man's shed. Joinery, upholstery is waiting there for you, just for you to do. It's waiting there for you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Model Railways fundraising, it's waiting there for you, down at the man's shed. We send our tools to Africa to help them on the farm, help them work the land, help them on the farm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Send the tools to Africa to help them on the farm, down at the man's shed, down at the man's shed.
You need a guy who can wash up the dishes, you need a chairman, you need a secretary, and you need guys who can work the tools, who can mentor, who can dance and sing. It's literally bringing a whole village back to life. It's getting the elderly and it's bringing them back into being elders. And that's a very important journey that I think needs to happen again in our villages, and for our teenagers to see that our elders in the village have so much to offer. So much to offer our communities. And I can see already in the shed that this is actually happening in this village. And so I'm very excited about bringing this from the youth to our elders and the guys in between back together. And I think this model, which has been here forever, but the Industrial Revolution came and changed. And we're really not reinventing the wheel, we're just bringing back a kind of community hub again. Work at a bakery. If any of you want to get in touch with me, spread the word, please. I can't do it without you. I need your help. I really do. Those men came to the call and they helped, and they're having a wonderful time. You guys want to do the same? I'm your man. Just get on. Thank you very much.
The men's shed, the place for learning and laughter. No stress, and friendships are made. All men are welcome. As the pace of life gets faster, we need a place as a sanctuary to get peace of mind, to have a laugh, and carry on in a good way for ourselves, for our family, and for our community.